Good evening, welcome. We're grateful to have you. You're welcome, all of you who are watching us online and those with us physically. My wife, Pastor Sofa, and the household would love to welcome you. We welcome you all to this Wednesday household talk. Please feel free and make sure, as usual, you share the link with someone. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so, and Facebook. YouTube channel subscription helps you get the videos as they are created, and it also helps us to spread this good news. We're always thankful that you join us, and we're humbled. We don't take you for granted. Each one of you, we would mention you by your names, but we are so thankful and humbled by that. Of course, like we always say, this is a space where each one of us mind comes to be tested, and we promise you will get to understand what we're saying, because it's clear and it's been explained from the scriptures. Tonight we want to discuss the issue of Noah's flood by popular demand. Many people ask for it. So please buckle up, sit down, have a quiet space away from noise, get a book, write something. If you have a question, please ask. The numbers are on top of the video as usual. And if you're looking for a family church, a household church to grow in, please, you are welcome to join this little house. So please feel free. So we are welcome also people who are with me physically. Please feel free. Thank you for coming this Wednesday. Keep doing this. This household has to be kept aloof, because the messages have to be taken to the whole world. Like I was telling, I was having a chat with one of our children. I was saying our message is not a religious message, neither is it a scientific message or philosophical message. This message is to the all human being. This message, if you listen to it very carefully, you realize that it has everything to do with emancipation of human mind. It has everything to do with giving man the right identity, giving man the right way to look at things and think. I know it's very painful to leave the face mind, and sometimes it seems to be impossible, but if we sit under the truth, everything will be okay. So tonight, we are trying to look at Noah's flood. But of course, before that, just a recap for other people who might not know how we look at the scriptures according to the Bible, because the Bible tells us that the Bible is self-explanatory. When you look at it through the eyes of a prophet, through the eyes of a son of man, the first thing you need to know when you're studying this truth, this message, this word, the scriptures, is that you have to understand that the Bible is not a history book. This we have tried to emphasize, and we'll always say that until people begin to know it, because from way back we have been meant to believe that the Bible is a history book. And you notice there have been a lot of research and what do you call that? Who are these people who go to look for things? Excavations about the geography or the lyrics of the people who are in the story of the Bible. People have been arguing over what's the true Jerusalem. Is it in Africa? Is it in the Middle East? Because they take the Bible as a history book. But the Bible itself says self-explanatory. It's not a history book. It's a parable. It's an allegory. If you please, it's a prophecy. It's a book of prophecy. It's the same thing. You might say it's a parable, allegory, book of prophecy. And I would like to say it's like literature. we are learning something from these parables. And of course, when we come to you like this, we're not coming to add another school of thought to anything, but we're just coming to explain the Bible the way it is. The Bible itself says in the book of Matthew 34, I believe. You can read for us, honey. Matthew 13:34, you realize that the Bible is not history. The Bible is parables. The Bible is allegories. The Bible is prophecy. So we have to take it as such. There's no part of the Bible which is not an allegory. Everything is an allegory. It's a prophecy. It's a parable. Matthew 13:34.
All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them.
You see, Christ, when Christ the prophet began to speak, he says he spoke everything in parables, and there was nothing which Christ spoke which was not parables. Next verse.
That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
There you go. Christ as a prophet. That's what we say. If you're going to know a true prophet is going to fulfill parable, fulfill prophecy. So whatever Christ was saying, he was fulfilling prophecy. That's why, if you notice, when he comes in the world, he says, I have not come to add anything, isn't it? I have not come to bring a new thing. Now, I don't know why you think when Christ walked on water is a new thing. He said, I have not come to bring a new thing. I have not come to add or subtract. I have come to fulfill the law, fulfill the prophecy. So whatever Christ did was fulfilling prophecy. So we have discussed about that. I'm just trying to make people comfortable as we go on. So you notice Christ, the Bible says, when Christ started to speak, he spoke in parables. And it says there was nothing which Christ ever spoke which was not parable. Why? So that he should fulfill prophecy, which says, I'll open up my mouth in prophecy. I mean, in parables. And this prophecy he was fulfilling, if you please, is found also in Psalms 78, verse 1 to 2. So that we connect, isn't it? The New Testament and the Old Testament. Christ mentioned that the prophet says he will open up he will open up his mouth in parables. This prophet was David in the book of Psalms 78, verse 1 to 2. We'll take our time. I want us to understand this. If we don't understand, there are elders here, there are everyone here in the family members who can help, and you can also call us.
Psalm 78, verse 1 to 2. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old.
So the Bible is parable. The Bible is dark saying. Dark saying because you can't understand it if you are not a prophet. You cannot understand it unless the prophet explains it to you right. The parable has to be digested into your common language, and this is done by the prophet. That's why you notice it even in the book of Ezekiel. We read some time back. Ezekiel was a prophet. He was told, eat the book. After you eat the book, then go and preach to the people of Israel, right? Why didn't God just say, the people of Israel eat the book? He didn't say that. He told one man first, eat it, then go and teach, isn't it? That's what is happening. So that is what is prophecy. When we say the prophet prophesied, the prophets were decoding the parables. They were not talking about things which are of the flesh, no. They were talking about parables. So straight into Noah's Ark. It's a Wednesday service, it's a short service. You will expand on this as you go. Noah's flood was not worldwide, because it's a parable, isn't it? Let's begin to understand that. We will answer these questions as we go on. So Noah's flood was not worldwide. Let's take that myth out. The era of religion is that the idea of the flood mentioned in the Bible covered all the earth and drowned everybody on earth except Noah and his family, who escaped death by being in the ark. Remember, the Bible is not stories. So religion believes this when there is a lot of evidence that the flood was not worldwide. If you go into history, there is a lot of evidence that the flood was not worldwide. I'll give you a few nuggets. Because it's a parable. And they have destroyed the faith of multitude of people and made atheists out of many people who would have been saved from their miseries if only they have been told the truth of the Bible. Many people become atheists because people are not telling the truth of the Bible right, isn't it? For example, my wife is a scientist. She was telling me before she made this message, she was almost giving up on religion. Because it doesn't make sense. You see what I mean? They will tell you Noah's flood flooded the earth. And you take it literally, but we will get to that. So they have made atheists of many people who would have been saved from their miseries if only they have been told the truth of the Bible. And that's what we're trying to do here. Save, emancipate the 9 billion people on earth. This is due to mistranslations. The problem we have of the Bible is mistranslations. Let's agree. Where's my Bible? There's a lot of mistranslations of our Bible. Because remember, the Bible was translated from Aramaic, Greek, whatever. But this Bible we have was translated from Greek to English, isn't it? By the Roman Catholic Church. You understand? By the priests. So, of course, they have their own beliefs. So some of the translations, they'll translate them to enforce their belief, isn't it? So the problem has been mistranslations and misreading of the word. Not allowing the prophet to explain the word. For example, I will some of these things when you go home, I'm opening up this story to you. You go and read it line by line. I will just pick up like that so that you understand. But with this summary, you are going to read it right. In Genesis chapter 6, we read that God found the people so corrupt. The story is that God found the people so corrupt that he regretted that he had ever created them, and so he decided to wipe them up by a flood, and he warned righteous Noah and told him to build a great big boat in which he and his family might find safety. That's the story, right? And where they could preserve a few of each kind of animals. They took animals two by two. That's chapter 6. You can read it from home. That's a summary. In chapter 7 of Genesis, it tells how Noah received the final warning that the time was now at hand and that he should move into the ark. Then it says according to the King James Version. Remember, King James Version was translated from Greek to English in 1611 with the authority of King James, the English king, who wasn't even a religious man. He just gave them permission to translate from Greek to English. So the priests who are translating the Bible honored him by giving the name of the Bible King James, isn't it? So according to King James, chapter 7, honey, we can read chapter 7, verse 10. Genesis 7, verse 10. According to King James Version, I hope I'm slow. Am I slow?
No.
I'm okay?
Genesis 7, verse 10 says, "And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth."
11.
In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights.
Okay, 18. Verse 18.
And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters.
Okay, 19. Okay, up to 21 now.
And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle, of beast, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man.
So now, let's look at this. Can somebody use Google to check for me what 15 cubits is in meters?
15?
Cubits. cubits, C-U-B-I-T-S, 15 cubits. So it says, verse 20, 15 cubits upward did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered. So from 15 cubits upwards, isn't it? And all the flesh died, okay? 24, honey.
So 24 says, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
So 15 cubits is what?
7 meters.
7 meters, right? Yeah.
7 meters, 22 feet.
22 feet.
Yes.
Yeah, so 15 cubits is only 7 meters. How does 7 meters look? Me, I'm 2 meters, right?
No, 1.7.
I'm less. 7 meters is what?
7 meters.
Is up to maybe the roof, right?
It's beyond the roof.
It's beyond.
Yeah, so the waters were 7 meters. Picture that, right? Let's get this right, guys. Right? 15 cubits, right? That's 7 meters, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Genesis 8:1.
And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters
Assuaged.
assuaged.
Up to 5.
Right. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters retained from off the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days of the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, and on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen.
So let's see what the translators have done to what Moses originally wrote. Huh? So the King James Version says that the rain was upon the earth, and the waters increased greatly upon the earth, and all the flesh died that moved upon the earth. Translation is wrong. Remember, the translation is wrong. Right? Upon the earth. Why am I saying that? Let's get into some studying a bit. Translation is wrong. When it says, King James says that the rain was upon the earth, meaning the whole earth, isn't it? Isn't it? But remember, it says the water only covered 7 meters. Can 7 meters of water cover the whole earth? Huh? Because Mount Kilimanjaro is 9 kilometers high. You're talking about 7 meters. Eh? So, Genesis 4 verse 14. So, it's the error, I might not call it error. The words, the English language is very restrictive, right? For example, I'll give you an example. When you say, if I say, I love Pastor and so forth, I love Brother Isen, it's confusing. They'll ask you how. Is it? So one word can mean a lot of things. Because the English language was for the barbarians. We were not supposed to be speaking English, no. But as it is, in every human endeavors, the one who wins the war brings the culture, right? The barbarians won. The English were barbarians, primitive, ruffians. Even their language is useless. Because they won, so we speak English, isn't it? And we follow their history. Because if we start with Greek, the word, you cannot say, I love Isen, I love Dr. and so forth. You understand that? I would say, I eros Dr. and so forth. Eros means love of a woman and a man, isn't it? And then I would say, I agape Isen. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Even Spanish, huh?
Yes. Other languages are good.
Take care.
Yes, but English is useless. English is chibemba nechinyanja. Muchinyanja, kukumanga is to build that. Again, the same way kukumanga is to arrest. Confusing. If I'm learning, I'll be confused. Amanga nyumba. Vakapokula vanamanga. Now, if you don't know your language, you say he's building a house. Yeah? You say Gladys was built by the police. Isn't it? So even in this case, when you say earth, it's confusing. That's why people now think Noah's flood covered the earth. Right. Now let's understand Genesis 4:14. I think I'm using good examples. Huh?
Yeah.
Genesis 4:14.
Behold, thou hast driven me. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
You see, even here, who is this one? Cain. Eh? He says, "You have driven me from the face of the earth." Did Cain take off in a spaceship and leave the earth? Are we together? You get it, right? That's your King James version. So if you're not getting it right, you just say the earth means the whole world. You understand? The Bible it's the same word earth. If you say Noah's flood was all over the earth, so let's also agree that when Cain says God has driven me from the earth, he jumped into a spaceship and left earth. Right? But was that the case? You see? So did Cain climb in his rocket ship and take off into outer space? Of course not. He was never driven from the face of the earth. And he never said so. Only the translators said so. The English is saying that, isn't it? Because it's limited. So the word Cain used was if you go into the Hebrew word, it's Adama. You understand? You go to the original word, isn't it? The original word is Adama, Adamah. Adama meaning the ground. It's the ground. So because the ground is, we say in English, is made of soil, earth, isn't it? You see? So there was flood, the whole earth. We'll get to that. So Adama, when you go into the Hebrew translation, it's Adama, Adom. In fact, they say it as Adoma, Adomo. It says soil from its general redness. Country, you see? Adama could mean country. So when Cain says you have driven me from the earth, it would have mean you have driven me from this country, isn't it? So Adama means country, or earth, or ground, sometimes or husbandman, land. You see? So God had told him that you see, for Cain, remember again, the Bible is I said it's a parable, right? So the parable of Cain, Peter showed us in the book of 1 Peter. Let's go there, then we continue. 1 Peter, we read it there. 1 Peter 3 verse 20.
Last Sunday.
Yes, 1 Peter 3 verse 20. What is the prophetic meaning of this, isn't it? We'll continue talking about, I'm looking at it literally.
1 Peter 3 verse 20. Which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah.
You see, they were disobedient when the long suffering waited in the days of Noah. Now, Peter is a prophet, explaining the prophecy of the Old Testament, isn't it? Uh-huh.
While the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water. The like figure.
It's a figure. You understand? It's not literally. Do you get it, Dr. John? It's a like figure. You understand? Noah's flood, Noah's ark is a figure. It's a parable, in short, isn't it? It's the like figure.
Whereunto even baptism doth also now save us, not putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience towards God.
Yes. So Noah's flood is a like figure. Noah is the second mind. Cain is the first mind, isn't it? And you notice Cain, when Cain slew Abel. Remember, Abel also is the second mind, isn't it? These things is just about a human being coming from the mind you was born with into a new mind which is fearful and which will help him fix the earth, isn't it? So now, Cain being the second mind, you know that God, what did God do to the second mind? I mean, to do the first mind. He told him, I'm going to curse the ground, isn't it? Am I right? I'll curse the ground. So when the Bible says God took God took Cain out of the ground, God had told him that his farming would never be successful. You understand that? Are we together? The land wouldn't give him anything. So Cain said, God has driven me off of the ground. And you probably notice that Cain's descendants, if you look at Cain's descendants, Cain, were not farmers. They owned pawn shops, money lending institutions. They were antificers. You understand? They were not farmers. Because for them, I think the ground where they were living couldn't give them crops. It's an allegory. Are we together? In chapter 7, whenever Moses mentioned earth, the Hebrew word is, another word for earth is eret, meaning the land. E-R-E-T, eret. If you go eret, the concordance says from an unused root, probably meaning to be firm, the earth, a large or particular, a land or particularly a land, common, country, earth, same thing as Dharma, right? Field, ground, land, wilderness, wild. The flood did not cover that particular land where it covered, it was a local flood. Are we together? It was a local flood that covered one particular local land, but not the whole earth. So when the people of old were trying to make a parable concerning the first mind and the second mind, they borrowed how the earth sometimes is covered by the flood, isn't it? And this land was always covering a local flood. It was a local flood that covered one particular local land, but not the whole earth. Again, notice that it specifies that 15 cubic. Did the water prevail? It says 15 cubics. Did the water prevail and the mountains were covered, isn't it? So those are, if you go to the Middle East, Dr. Joy and everyone, Middle East doesn't, if you say it was in the Middle East, for example, we don't have big mountains there, do we? More hills. Even what they say, Zion, it's like a small hill. So in ancient times, like I was trying to explain, I did my calculations also. I wanted you to do it, then we will compare. So in ancient times, 2 different lengths of cubics were in use. That's why they're using it in the Bible. They used to use, the Hebrew sacred cubit was 25 inches. 25 inches in centimeters is 63.5 centimeters. And the common to 25 and 8 inches. Therefore, the waters either rose above the tops of the mountains, of which it is speaking by either 25 feet. 25 feet is 7.62, right? That's what you said, right? It was 7 meters, right? Yeah, so 7.6, in fact, I got 7.62 meters. Inches, right? So inches or 31 feet or 9 meters. 3 inches, according to which cubit you use in those days. If this meant that all the mountains on the earth were covered, it says in that area all the mountains were covered, isn't it? Meaning these mountains were not taller than 7 meters. Are we lying? It's true, isn't it? You see?
Did you go through the measurements?
The measurements, when it says 15 cubits in the Bible.
The Hebrew sacred.
Oh, okay. In ancient times, 2 different lengths of cubits were used. The Hebrew sacred cubit of 25 inch, I translated it also in brackets. I did my calculation, which is equivalent to 63.5 centimeters. And then the common one was 25 and 8 inches. So I'm saying the waters either rose above the tops of the mountains, of which it is speaking by either 25 inch or 25 feet, which is 7 meters, 9 inches, or 31 feet, which is 9.4 meters, 3 inches, according to which cubit you use. Okay, there were two then, isn't it? 25 inch, and the other one was 25 and 8 inches. Are we together? I'll give you some of these notes probably. So, we are saying if this meant that all the mountains on the earth were covered, the water would have to cover Mount Everest, isn't it? Do we agree? If we're saying it's all earth, then Mount Everest was covered, right? Which is nearly Mount Everest is 9.7 kilometers. You understand? But 9.7, well, what is 6 miles? Calculate. 6 miles is 6 miles in kilometers. It's 9.7 kilometers. And where would the water have gone which covered all the earth? If it's 6 kilometers, 6 meters is very far, isn't it? From here. Mm-hmm. But if the whole earth was covered by that much, the whole nation on earth would have been exterminated, yes. If we say the waters were like that, then the whole earth was exterminated, right? And that's what they say. They say the whole earth was exterminated. Only Noah and his wife and his 3 children and the wives, 8 souls, right? Yet, when you are studying your history, I was going through his history to write my few notes. Yet Babylon, Egypt, and Chinese history, if you read Babylonian, Egypt, and Chinese history, they run through this period without a break. This period of Noah's Ark, for them, it doesn't say people died. No. They run through it without a break. Are we getting it? The Bible gives the date of Noah's flood as commencing in 2345 BC. Right? That's what it says, that Noah's flood happened in 2345 BC. And it ended in 2344 BC. Did you catch that? Noah's flood started in 2345 BC and ended in 2344 BC. In Lower Sumeria, later called the Chaldea, the Chaldees, it was a place where where Abraham was born, isn't it? In the Bible. So in Lower Sumeria, later called Chaldea, and which occupied the same plains of Shinar, to which Noah and the family journeyed after the flood. The city of Ur, it's called Ur in the Bible, Ur, of the Chaldea was the leading city it existed from about 2400 BC. You see, it's running through Noah's flood and broken until about 2285 BC. And its history is not broken by any flooding this period. Further, in the north, Babylon was raising to power. Babylon was the city which was under Nebuchadnezzar, right? Was raising to power from about 2400 BC on and reached its greater height of civilization under its greatest king. After Nebuchadnezzar, it had another king called Hammurabi. So it's Babylon also raised to power from about 2400 BC on, and it reached its greatest height of civilization under the greatest king Hammurabi, who lived at the same time with the Hebrew patriarch Abraham, about 2250 BC. And again, there is no break in this history due to the flood. If you follow those histories of Noah, of Abraham and Noah, there was no breaking, that the flood broke this time. Reasonably accurate history of China. Let's talk about China also. China's history begins nearly 3000 BC. You know, the Chinese history is about 3000 years before Jesus was born. You understand? It's old. Before the Bible stories, isn't it? 3000 years before the world ever knew Jesus, the Chinese history began. The Sima, the history record of China, shows that King Yao came to the throne in 2356 during the flood, isn't it? The flood is 2400. 11 years before the start of Noah's flood, and that he ruled China many years after the flood. He went through the flood. During the reign of King Yao, the Sima, which is the history book of the Chinese, reports that the Yangtze River, you have heard of the Yangtze River in China, which drains mountains under the Great Basin in Sichuan province, had excessive floods for 3 generations. Here again, there was no break in history. The Chinese nation was not wiped out. The Yangtze River is known to be having floods, killing people in that geographical area, but not the whole world. Because it was only rising 15 cubics, isn't it? Which is 7 meters. Therefore, the Bible is correct in stating that the floods covered only Eret. Remember, the right translation is Eret, that land, isn't it? Like, for example, that land in China. Yeah. The writers of the Bible use that story to explain the spiritual way of how God is doing things. Remember, the water in the blood are nations, isn't it? So, when Peter is saying that Noah's flood is an example of the baptism. Remember, first of all, we are baptized in water, right? Baptism in water means the floods, the knowledge of the world, the human knowledge. We are baptized. Baptism means you are taught. From your mother's womb, you are baptized in water. Like John baptized first in water. And then he says, the one who comes will never baptize you in water. He will baptize you in the Spirit and in fire, right? And what is the Spirit? We said the word of God, the word that I speak is the Spirit, isn't it? So, Noah's floods allegorical meaning is, the floods means the human knowledge. If you don't run from there, from the human knowledge, and enter into the ARK, which is the godly knowledge. That's what Peter is saying. This is an example. The Noah's flood, 1 Peter 3:20. Noah's flood is a parable of what baptism is doing to us now. It's removing us from the floods, from the human knowledge, which will drown us in sin, and taking us into the ARK, which is into the word of God, into the spiritual mind. So the Bible was correct when it says Eret. It was just the translation. So, for example, I got an extract from the same Chinese history book. It says it was during the reign of Emperor Yao. You can Google this. Emperor Yao, that the Great Flood, they call it, began. A flood so vast that no part of Yao's territory was spared. And both the Yellow River and the Yangtze valleys flooded. The alleged nature of the flood is shown in the following quote. The people who have written it, they say, like endless boiling water, the flood is pouring forth destruction, boundless and overwhelming. It overtops hills and mountains, rising and ever rising. It threatens the very heavens, is what I mean. Because it was massive, so people who write, they will exaggerate like that, isn't it? So, how the people must groan and suffering. This one, you can get it from Emperor Yao, as quoted in the book of history. They call it describing the flood. So, the flood had to do with one particular place. I don't know if there are questions up to now. Does that make sense? Dr. Joy, you're the one who had asked that we talk about the flood. The Bible says Cain was taken from the earth. That doesn't mean he was taken from the earth. Earth there is Eret, means land. So, but I say. So maybe for the people online, we will cut off because we have reached our time. We will remain with the people who are physical with us. We take much longer in the physical lessons. If you want to be a part of these, you can call us, then we'll give you the locations. We meet on Wednesdays and Sundays. We will meet you on Sundays and Wednesdays. We love you as usual. God bless you. Bye.